most business books are about success. I was guilty of that myself. My last book, Unleashing Killer App, looked at successes in digital strategy. The question always lingers, why is that, and couldn't we learn from failures? And in my interaction with business executives, we all talk about learning the lessons from failures, but nobody ever does. One of the real sort of drive motivations for writing this book is to actually explore that topic and draw the lessons from failures that hardly anybody ever does.
My favorite story from the book has to do with the ancient Persians. They would make decisions twice, once while drunk, once while sober. And it was interesting to see that the same principles that apply to the Persians apply to businesses, that businesses can benefit from finding a way to make those same decisions a second time in a very sober, very serious, very reflective state. To me, one of the problems with success is that it's seductive. The guy goes out and he bets $1 million on red at the roulette table and he wins. Well, that doesn't mean he's going to be able to do it again. To me, it's not even just what you can learn from success that you don't learn from failure. It's that you have to look at both sides so that you can see that betting consistently on black at the roulette table is not a reliable strategy.
One of the most dangerous failure patterns, because it's so easy to fall into, is the idea of an adjacency. The idea that you're going to build on core strength and just go a little bit further, slightly new customer base, or build slightly new products, or go into new channels. And oftentimes people fool themselves about how far they're actually going. They're actually moving into waters that are completely different than where their core skills lie.
A lot of times when companies do this, they're thinking about what would be great for them and wind up doing something that the customer doesn't care about. For instance, one of the first synergy deals was when United, back in the 70s, decided, oh, people fly. Well, when they fly, they need hotels. They also need rental cars. So we'll go off and we'll buy a hotel chain, Westin, and we'll buy Hertz Rent-A-Car. That way people can do all these things. Well, it turned out the customer who was flying United didn't necessarily want to stay in a Westin. Maybe it wasn't convenient. Maybe they liked something better. They didn't necessarily want a Hertz Rent-A-Car. So while from United's standpoint, it was great to try to sell lots of things to a person when you had them on the phone, the customer didn't care.
But in the end, I think one of the things that companies need to realize is that the strategy making process is very fallible, and that for any big bet the company kind of decision, what they should do is they should step back, and no matter how carefully they've considered it, they should get an honest second independent view.
When Tom Watson Jr. was CEO of IBM, there was a guy who lost $10 million on a project. So Watson hauled this guy into his office and made him sweat for a while in the anteroom. Calls the guy into his office, says, do you know why you're here? Guy says, I assume I'm here to be fired. Watson says, fired? I just spent $10 million educating you. I just want to be sure you learned the right lessons. And that's basically the idea of the book. People have done all these things, have made mistakes. They're great lessons. Why make the same mistakes again?